Hey there, nostalgia lovers! Welcome to Nostalgia Area. The 1980s. It was the decade of big hair, neon everything, and marketers who clearly lived by a throw it in a bottle and see if it sticks philosophy. For every soda that became a timeless classic, there were dozens of bizarre experiments that flashed across supermarket shelves and vanished so fast you might think you imagined them after a late-night pizza. These weren't just new flavors. They were baffling concepts. A soda that tasted like liquid candy, the single biggest marketing blunder in beverage history. A beloved lemon-lime drink that suddenly went dark and spicy, and a cola designed to be best friends with your morning cornflakes. These were legendary flops, drinks so strange, so misguided, or so ahead of their time that many were yanked from shelves in less than a year. Today, we're cracking open the strangest sodas the 1980s ever dared to sell and finding out exactly why they vanished overnight. First up in our museum of failed flavors is one of the most audacious ideas ever poured into a can. Hubba Bubba Original Bubblegum Soda. Yes, you heard that right. Launched around 1987, this wasn't actually made by Wrigley, but by a company that licensed the name. It dared to ask a question nobody was asking. What if you could drink your bubblegum instead of chewing it? The concept sounds exactly like something a kid would invent, and that was the entire point. The can was a blinding Pepto-Bismol pink, leaving zero mystery about what was inside. The flavor was reportedly inspired by bubblegum snow cone syrup, which tells you everything you need to know about its taste profile. Intensely sweet, aggressively artificial, and completely unapologetic. And it delivered. This soda tasted exactly like melted pink bubblegum mixed with carbonated water. They even released a diet version, because apparently the main concern with drinking liquid bubblegum was the calorie count. The problem was refreshment. Soda drinkers want something crisp and thirst-quenching. Hubba Bubba soda made people feel like they needed to brush their teeth immediately. Kids tried it once for the novelty. Adults avoided it entirely. Repeat customers were practically non-existent. By the early 1990s, the novelty had worn off, and Hubba Bubba soda burst its own bubble, becoming a legend of 80s excess and restraint-free marketing. If Hubba Bubba was a novelty failure, 7-Up Gold was a full-blown identity crisis. In 1988, 7-Up was famous for one thing, being the Uncola. It was clear, crisp, caffeine-free, and refreshing. So naturally, the company decided to launch a drink that was none of those things. 7-Up Gold was dark, amber-colored, caffeinated, and spiced. Its flavor, developed by Dr. Pepper, was a confusing mix of cinnamon, ginger, and other spices. Think of a heavy ginger ale that didn't know where it belonged. The company reportedly spent around $10 million launching it, but the marketing collapsed immediately. One of 7-Up's most famous slogans was, "Never had it, never will."
Never had it, never will, and no caffeine.
Proudly advertising its lack of caffeine. 7-Up Gold did have caffeine, instantly confusing loyal customers. People grabbed a can expecting lemon-lime refreshment and instead got something resembling mulled soda. It felt like ordering water and being handed hot cider. Consumers rejected it almost instantly. Sales were abysmal. Within a year, 7-Up Gold was gone. A textbook example of what happens when a brand forgets who it is. The 1980s were a time of bold ambition, and no ambition was bolder or stranger than trying to replace coffee. In 1989, Pepsi introduced Pepsi AM.
So with Pepsi AM behind them, Pepsi still had plenty to think about for the future.
A cola designed specifically for breakfast. To earn its place next to bacon and eggs, it was formulated with about 28% more caffeine than a regular Pepsi. The can featured a yellow fade meant to resemble a sunrise, though some joked it looked like the printer was running out of ink. The pitch was simple. For people who didn't like coffee, this was their morning wake-up call. But Pepsi AM misunderstood one crucial thing: habit. Morning drinks aren't just about caffeine. They're rituals. Coffee and tea are warm, comforting, and ingrained. Cracking open a cold fizzy cola at 7 a.m. felt unholy. Worse, Pepsi AM still had far less caffeine than a standard cup of coffee, so it failed both audiences. Coffee drinkers weren't impressed, and soda drinkers didn't want it in the morning. It tasted like a slightly bolder Pepsi with no unique reason to exist. After limited test marketing and overwhelming indifference, Pepsi quietly pulled the plug in 1990. If Hubba Bubba soda tried to liquefy gum, Lifesaver soda was its spiritual soulmate. Launched in the early 1980s,
Lifesaver soda was a fruit-flavored soda that debuted in the 1990s.
Lifesaver soda aimed to turn the iconic hard candy flavors into full-sized drinks. The logic seemed solid. Soda was popular, candy was popular. Why not combine them? The lineup included pineapple, orange, and lime. Early taste tests went well, and the company moved forward confidently. But real-world consumers quickly exposed the flaw. Lifesavers are small for a reason. Their intense sweetness works in tiny doses. Stretching that flavor across a 12-ounce can was a recipe for sugar overload. The sodas were syrupy, artificial, and overwhelming. The novelty attracted curious buyers, but almost no one came back for a second can. Liquid candy sounds amazing when you're 8. As an adult, it's a dental emergency. Within a few years, Lifesaver soda was discontinued, proving that not every beloved candy should be carbonated. If you think American sodas were strange, let's take a quick trip across the pond. Launched in the UK in 1982 by Coca-Cola, Quatro was as aggressively 80s as it gets. Quatro! Its most unforgettable feature was its color. A bright, almost radioactive green that looked more like a science experiment than a beverage. The name came from its 4-fruit flavor: pineapple, orange, passion fruit, and grapefruit. The result was a chaotic blend of sweet and tangy that people either loved or hated instantly. The marketing leaned hard into futuristic excess, featuring sleek vending machines and high-tech visuals. Quatro stood out in a sea of colas and lemon limes. And for a while, it built a genuine cult following, but its aggressive flavor and niche appeal kept it from going mainstream. While it lasted longer than most drinks on this list, sales eventually faded. By 1989, Quatro disappeared, leaving behind a fluorescent memory. And now, the biggest disaster of them all. In April 1985, Coca-Cola made one of the boldest and dumbest moves in corporate history by changing its 99-year-old formula. Why? Because blind taste tests showed people preferred the sweeter taste of Pepsi. Coke's solution was simple: become more like Pepsi. What they didn't test for was emotional attachment. People didn't just drink Coke, they identified with it. The backlash was immediate and volcanic. Protest groups formed. Phone lines were flooded with angry calls. Just 79 days later, Coca-Cola reversed course and brought back the original formula as Coca-Cola Classic. New Coke was later renamed Coke 2 and quietly faded away.
And more people said, Coke is it.
It remains the ultimate lesson in brand loyalty and emotional marketing failure. Before energy drinks ruled the world, there was Jolt Cola.
Jolt, it brings out the best in you.
Launched in 1985, Jolt proudly advertised all the sugar and twice the caffeine. It was rebellious, unapologetic, and aimed squarely at students, programmers, and night owls. For a while, it was a cult hit, but as health concerns grew and sleek energy drinks like Red Bull entered the market, Jolt's brute force approach felt outdated. After multiple rebrands and ownership changes, the original 80s version fizzled out, replaced by a more polished generation of caffeine delivery. In 1984, PepsiCo launched Slice.
Diet too.
Slice, slice!
A lemon-lime soda made with 10% real fruit juice. In an era of artificial everything, this felt revolutionary. Slice exploded in popularity and expanded into multiple flavors. But over time, PepsiCo quietly reduced the juice content until it hit 0, removing the brand's entire reason for existing. Sales collapsed, and Slice was eventually discontinued, replaced by Sierra Mist. Long before LaCroix, there was original New York Seltzer. Launched in 1981, it offered clear, naturally flavored seltzers with no artificial colors. It became a massive yuppie-era hit, reaching over $100 million in sales. But bigger competitors flooded the market, and distribution issues crippled the brand. Production stopped around 1994, decades before the sparkling water boom it predicted. Few drinks are as pure nostalgia as high-C Ecto Cooler. Released in 1987 as a real Ghostbusters tie-in, the neon green citrus drink became a phenomenon. It outlived the cartoon, survived rebrands, and developed a cult following so strong that limited re-releases still sell out instantly. From liquid bubblegum to corporate catastrophes, the 1980s were a graveyard of bold, bizarre soda experiments. Some failed because they were too weird. Others failed because they betrayed their brand. And a few were simply ahead of their time. But now, we want to hear from you. Which of these drinks did you actually try? Which one sounds the worst? And is there a bizarre 80s soda we missed? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, make sure to subscribe for more dives into forgotten history.